Hello, guys. How are we doing this beautiful day whenever you are interacting in this video? It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. I derive great joy um, dishing out knowledge, dishing out wisdom, helping people to maximize themselves with whatever they have, with whatever little information, little opportunity they have. And that's the whole essence of proactivity. That's the whole essence of self-effectiveness. You being effective, you're taking the bull by the horn, and you're making the most of your life. That gives me utter joy. That has been my life's motto, and it's always a pleasure when I have to get people to buy this idea of being effective as a person and maximizing yourself. I am Esther Zoe, and I am the host of the Proactivity Inner Circle, and also the convener of Hanga with Zoe. And this video is being recorded for the Proactivity Inner Circle. But then, hey, I know that some of you would interact with it some other time in future. So you're welcome on board to learn what I have for today. So let me just quickly go to my notes. Today we are going to talk about the place of times and season in goal setting. The place of times and season in goal setting. Now, if you are someone who have been intentional about setting goals, you would notice that there are some times when you outline a certain goal, maybe by the beginning of a new year, the beginning of the dawn of a new year, or the close of the old year. You map out some goals and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. And then as life progresses, sometime into the year, it could be a month, a week, a few months into the year, certain things start coming up because, certain things will begin to come up. You are a dynamic being. You interact with things and things interact with you. There are roles that you take up that you might not have foreseen, okay, at the start of the year or at the moment when you were documenting those your goals. You might have started the year hoping that you would follow a certain path, okay, if a certain career path, only for you to maybe within the year stumble upon a very integral lesson you need to learn. And so that would not take you to buying courses, taking trainings that you did not originally plan for. All right. And so these things interfere with what you originally, you started out with, what you began the year or the month or whatever season of time that is. Even if it's a week, sometimes you say you want to do this within this week, and then that same week, sometimes just the moment you drop your pen and you're done with your planning for the week, you come across something that's maybe a course, a training, or a trip that just disrupts or seems to disrupt everything. And so sometimes when you do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you're like, man, what's the use? I mean, I start out with this, I don't ever end up with it. I just start out with it and it's just there, and I get to just do other things except the things I wrote down, or I get to do more of other things and less of the thing I wrote down. So why bother? Let's just live life the way it is, and whatever comes, we'll take it on. And okay, so that's supposed to be the reaction. That's what you typically feel going through a series of goal setting and not achieving them, not because you didn't want to, but because other things intercepted. And that is why the concept of times and season is very important when it comes to setting your goals. Before I proceed, it's important to know what times are and what seasons are. So times are just the chronological order of events, okay? Is a measure of the chronological order of events. So morning and night, 2021, 2022, January, February, first, second, third of any month. Okay, that's time. It's just the sequence, the what's it called now? The rotation of the moon across around the earth, the revolution of the earth around the sun, on and on and on, and that's just the passage of time. Okay. And then there is seasons. There are seasons. Seasons are more occur in cycles. That's one aspect of seasons. Sometimes they occur in cycles. So you have your raining season, it's in cycles. You have the harmattan season, the dry season, it's also in cycles. You have planting and harvest seasons. You have seasons. If you're a woman, you have your menstrual cycle, but much more than that, there's a season of your life where maybe you are a young girl who has no cares in the world, and suddenly you're a teenager. Okay. And each of these events are occurring in seasons. They are occurring in seasons. So we have the seasons that are cyclical, like I mentioned about the rainy season, day, morning and evening, day and night, year in and year out. You see, it's a cycle. But then there are the more like occasional seasons that just come as a block. Okay, an example is the typical one I mentioned about where you're a teenager this season. It's just for a block from 18 to 19, from 13 to 19. And after that, you're done with the season of being a teenager and you progress into something else. Okay, you're pregnant. It's a block. You conceive till the day you deliver, and that is it. It's not a stipulated fact that every maybe 1 year you be pregnant. It's not a cycle. Okay, but it's still a season. All right. And these seasons go even further than just these obvious ones, and they could be also seasons of grief. That's like one of my most favorite example, not seasons, examples, right? So there are times when maybe you feel the cost, you lost somebody, someone dished you, you suffered an abuse, whatever. Okay, it's a season. It may not be a major season, but it's still a season, because that is the time for you to begin the journey of self-healing, of healing your mind. It's not the time to do something else. Not that you won't do anything else, but it's also a season that you focus on it. Okay, there are seasons that come in your life that also come as anyways, we'll go into how to identify seasons, but I hope you get the concept of times and of seasons. These are very important because, like I said, they are important in goal setting because, like I said, you could set up a goal in January and by March you are running on a different trajectory because times and seasons have changed. Okay, just like 2020 is a very, very peculiar year. We all started the year with certain plans and strategies and ideas and roadmaps, only for March to come, 28th of March, and the world was on lockdown and everything was disrupted. Excuse me. So you see, it happens. That was a global large scale disruption, but you also have your little personal and corporate disruptions that are bound to come up every now and then. So an understanding of times and seasons will actually help you, number one, to stay through in the habits of goal setting. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you could get discouraged and say, what's in the world? I mean, I started with this, I hoped to do this. I said 2020 was my year of what, and I planned it out before me. I had everything up, set in place. And then in January, something is happening. In February, something else is happening. And then by December, I don't even know the connection between what I said I was going to do in January and what I ended up doing by the end of December, even though I was being so intentional and focused about achieving the things that were fundamental to my life. So you don't want to be in that place where you gas out, you get discouraged and frustrated, and you're like, whatever. No. So an understanding of times and seasons will actually help you to face the fact, the singular fact, the simple fact that these things would happen. Okay, it's also help you to learn how to construct your goal from the beginning of the year in such a way that you don't get frustrated at the end of the year when all those constructive interruptions come within the year. Okay. And also, it will also help you to know how to navigate through the year, keeping your eyes focused on what you started out the year with. All right. So now, still in the place of times and seasons, let's see if we can venture into how to know your your season, what season you are in life. Okay, what season you are in life. When we know that, it would help us to know how exactly we should plan ourselves whenever these interruptions come, whenever these, they are not really distractions, they're just interruptions. And they are constructive interruptions more often than not, because you don't know the end from the beginning. It's only God who knows the end from the beginning. Okay, and though sometimes He gives us a glimpse of it, we as humans are bound to run on that glimpse. Okay, and so, like, a mistake I always did was I take that glimpse and then I pan out the entire year based on what I believe is the way I should run the year, only for things to come in between, and at the end of the year I may not achieve my original plan in January, but I would see that measurable growth in the path that God has actually previously ordained for me. And I'll see that those words or those instructions, those words He gave me, I'll see a couple of them coming to being, but not exactly following the sequence with which I put it. So this video is, how do you do it? What are the lessons I have learned that I believe you could also learn, so that you don't make the mistakes I've made. Okay, so let's start with how to know the seasons you are in life, because it will really help you. So the first way to know your season is getting a definitive word from God. Nothing beats it. Every other thing, I had to write the other things I wrote down, because I know that certain persons will be of the school bracket of, I've not learned how to hear from God. I don't know whether it's my thoughts or whether it's my mind, or whether it's God or whether it's people. I really don't know. So that's why I have the other points out listed. But then the primary, the most accurate way of understanding your season, especially on a broad scale, on a grand scale, is by getting that definitive word from God. So what is the Lord saying? What is it saying about your 2022? We are entering 2022, so let's stay there. What is He saying about your 2022? What's it saying about what's He saying He's going to do in your life? What is the end result? What is He saying? It's not just, it's my year of blessings, my year of prosperity. Those are beautiful, but I always tell people that for anything God says He's going to do for you, there is something you have to do. So when it comes to setting goals, you're not looking at what God said He will do alone, because if He says He will do it, then it's already as good as done. What you're looking for is, how do I align to become the person for the promise? That is what you're looking for, right? So getting a definitive word from God could be as grand as, okay, in the year 2022, I'm going to take you to levels of greatness. Okay, now see what I typically used to do. Levels of greatness. I'm like, oh, bless the Lord. So what is in my hand? This is scriptural. When Elijah, it happened with both Elijah and Elisha. So if I mix the stories up, please forgive me. Okay, but when Elijah came to the woman, I think the widow of Zarephath, I think I'm accurate now, he asked her, what do you have in your house? It was the widow whose husband had debts, and they were about to take her sons for, as slaves or something like that. And she cried to the prophet, and he said, what's in your hand? What do you have? And she said, nothing, just this small thing. And let's not go into the Bible story, but then there's always something in your hand you can start with. So more often than not, when I get this is what I want to do with you in 2022, or this is where I'm taking you. I go, fine, what's in my hand? Okay, I'm doing this, I have this, I could learn this, I could learn this. Let me use actual example so you can understand. So I could typically go, the Lord wants to take me to levels of greatness. And then I'll say, okay, based on all he has told me even before now, where is that level of greatness? And then I would say that level of greatness is, you know, influencing lives, being a positive influence and teaching people, giving them insights on how to live life. And then I'll say, okay, I think this means that I should take courses that would help me to be a better speaker and a better writer. I should take trainings that would help me to maybe focus on my niche, which is personal effectiveness. I would, you're getting the point. So I begin to outline this. And this is beautiful. This is actually a great way to start. But the only problem with it is that if you're not careful, you might see yourself going so far. You might see yourself running farther than God. It's always good to set it this way, because this is what the Lord has told you. This is somewhere you can start. So in the course of taking that course, I might see something else that the Lord will not say, okay, focus on this one. Now that would pull me away from every other thing I've been doing or I had said I would do, but it's still taking me to where I should be. But if I didn't start at all, if I decided to sit down and wait till I hear God say something, he might not say anything, because he has been speaking since I gave my life to Christ. He has been telling me what he wants to do with me. And it's only wisdom that when he says, okay, this is what this year is going to offer you, now you start something. Start and let him tell you to stop. Start and let him redirect you, but start. Okay, so getting a definitive word from God is something that would really, 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 really put you in focus and put you in perspective. So when the word of the Lord comes to you and says, what I want to do is that I want to heal you from the pains of the traumatic childhood you had. Maybe you were a rape victim, maybe you suffered from an abusive father, maybe you had negligent mother, maybe you were that black sheep of the family and it really ruined your mind and who you are. And the Lord says, I want to do this healing with you, in you. Now, that word does not entirely mean that he's doing it throughout the year, but it does mean that you're in a season, or you've just entered a season where the Lord wants to heal you. And so you begin to set the necessary goals. Of typical for me, I would say, okay, I'm going to do more praying, asking the Lord to heal me. Now, I'm not praying for Nigeria, I'm not praying for my marriage, I'm not praying for my family, I'm praying for healing, because that's what God wants to do. Emotional healing. Another thing in my goal could be to read books on healing. So maybe Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind could come in, or any other book I could think of that, or I could come across. I could even go as far as asking people, please recommend books on emotional healing for me, because this is what God wants to do, and he's going to use mediums. Okay. And on and on and on. So you see how I'm setting plans based on the definitive word I received from God. Okay, so that is when you know your season, you begin to set idealistic goals. We talked about SMART goals in the previous video, so just double back and look for it. SMART goals around that area that the Lord has given a word over. Then another way to know the season of life you are at is to find out what are your recurrent personal convictions. What are those things that consistently, or it comes over and over, on and on, within a stipulated time? I often call that a course in the school of the Spirit, because as a believer, you're in the school of the Spirit. Okay, the Holy Spirit is teaching you a lot of things. There are certain times, moments, seasons of your life where you begin to take a particular course on it. So there could be a time where everything around you, both related and unrelated, just talks about one thing. It could be the fact that you are selfish and you need to work on quitting that selfishness. It could be the fact that Lord is bringing you into understanding love. And so anything anybody talks about, you just see yourself sifting ideas about how to love or how to stop being selfish. It could be business, it may not even be anything that has to do with church or anything, or scriptures. It could just be sitting down, you watch two children playing, and you just start getting insights on that love or on whatever it is that you know you perceive. And often I would ask people, what class, what course are you currently taking in the school of the spirit? What is the Lord currently working in your life? When you look around you, sometimes for some persons it is the need to plunge into knowledge, to plunge into it. And so you just see that it's like over and over and over again, everything that seems to be happening around you is just the need to plunge into knowledge, to find knowledge, a particular knowledge or a broad spectrum knowledge. Okay, so piecing out the recurrences, the recurrent events, convictions, not just events now, because there is a part of events, but convictions. I'm emphasizing convictions because sometimes it does not have what the things that are giving you these convictions may not have anything to do with what you are looking at. Like you are reading the Songs of Solomon and you are getting business ideas. I'm just trying to paint a picture, and that could be, a season where the Lord is trying to feed you with a lot of business ideas, a lot of lessons that would help you to build, a valuable business that stands the test of time and represents the kingdom, right? So these are personal convictions. Sometimes when you share with other people, it makes no sense to them, but that is why it is your own, it is your personal conviction. So by the time you piece it all together, you should be able to find one thing or a group of things that seems to just keep coming on. It just seems to keep coming up, and that's a pointer that, okay, there's a season upon me. I should venture more into this. I should look for how to maximize this. Okay, I shouldn't just sit and mope. I should look for how to maximize it. If the Lord is calling me to business, maybe I could, even if I may not start one, maybe I could do research. Maybe I could, set goals to study certain business men who are doing great things nationally and internationally. So the third thing I have here is personal pain points and heartaches. Personal pain points. So it's very possible that one other way that you find your season are things that seem to be, now this one talks about events, personal pain point events. You might realize that maybe you're quickly losing friends, quickly losing trust, quickly losing loyalty of people who used to be friends and all that. And it hurts, but you don't just say, oh, fake friends, fake people, everybody get out. So you don't do that. You can't grow that way. What you need to do is to back up and say, okay, what is going on? What is going on? Is there something I'm doing? Because if it's happening with A, B, C, D, and I am the constant, then that means there's something I'm not getting right. I may not be doing something wrong, but I may not be getting something right. And just sitting down to analyze that situation could make you know that, okay, I think at this point in time, I need to focus on doing this. I need to focus on doing that. So in this situation, maybe you've not been such a friendly person. The scripture says that he who would have friends must of himself be friendly. Maybe you've not been such a friendly person, and so your friends have gotten tired of pursuing after you because you are not good, and then they've just backed out. Okay, or they are just tired. They don't love you less, but hey, you're tired of pursuing you. Okay, so that could be something. Okay, and another thing I need you to observe in all these instances that these seasons are not often widespread. They don't often inform your goal setting in maybe in your spirituality, your self-development, your relationship with people, your finances. It's not usually widespread across the different areas of your life. It's usually specific, it's usually targeted. Okay, so that's why even when you start out the year with a goal, you might see that within the year, your goals for self-development have changed, they've altered. You started out thinking that you're going to learn how to be a better speaker, only for you to get in and then you see yourself going for maybe how to be a better writer, or you see yourself doing learning how to maybe do graphic designs or anything. Okay, but initially you thought it was to be a better speaker. That's what you started out with. But things has a lot of things have put themselves in place and in shape, and you're now realizing, okay, it's not like I won't learn how to speak, but I think this area is what calls for my attention at this season of my life, and so you pursue after it. And then the last one I will talk about in this video is reoccurring personal prophetic words. Before we forge on, you can see that more or less your seasons are not determined by you, because your seasons are, they are God ordained. Okay, they are God ordained, and so it will take much more than just wishing it to exploit it. You would need to know, you need to know more about God. You need to be more introspective and think a lot more about what's going on in your life. And that is why one of the best things that happened to me was monthly reviews. After I set goals for a couple of years without achieving them, I had to ask myself, how can I make sure that I always remember? Because the problem is that I don't remember that I even said I was going to do anything. So how can I make sure that I always remember? And I said, okay, let's do this monthly. Nobody taught me, nobody told me anything. I just sat and thought and said, okay, let's do this monthly. Okay. And it was when I began to do that and began to grow more and more that I now met people, because God will definitely bring people when you start the journey. That's why I said, just start first. The resources you need for your next step is in the obedience of the current step. So start already. Okay, start and let the Lord redirect, not necessarily, not just redirect, but let him polish your path. Let him direct you. He leads us in the paths of righteousness. So he leads us in the path that will lead to him, the paths that will take us to where he wants us to be. All right. So kick off, start. Once you hear the word and you find out what you have in your hand, what do I have in my hand? Is it, you know, is there a trade I should learn? Is there a course I should take? Is there someone I should meet? Is there a learning I should submit myself to? Is there a place of assignment I should be more dedicated with? Once you find out what is in your hand, kick off. Everything would fall in place. Okay, so yeah, back to the thing I was about to say about reoccurring personal prophetic words. Now this has to do with what prophetic words you receive. Okay, there are times in your life, you go for conferences, you go for meetings, you in the place of prayer with a group, and then a word just keeps coming to you, just keeps coming to you. Now, this is not a personal conviction. This is someone else backing up what you more often than not already know. Because prophecy should not come to tell you something that you are totally oblivious of. Okay, when a word of prophecy comes, it's supposed to come to confirm what you already know or what you're already sensing. Okay, sorry, my nose is itching, I don't know why. When a word of prophecy comes, it should come to confirm what you already know or you're already perceiving. So it shouldn't just come and tell you something very abstract. All right, so when those prophetic words come, so maybe you are doubting yourself, you're not sure, you're not certain, and then these words come, they just validate that, okay, this is where I should be, this is what I should be doing, and you set the ball rolling. All right, so having looked into the ways of understanding, or at least finding out what seasons of life you are at every point in time, how do you now make sure that you set goals that are achievable, goals that you don't goals that by the end of the year you look back and say, okay, I actually did this thing, and not that I started with these and then I got sidetracked, or I started with these and I didn't eventually end up this way. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you don't how do I put it? You don't impound on God's word. If the Lord gives you a word for the year, don't of your own accord make it what it is not. If he says, I'm going to prosper you and set you in high places, don't assume that the high places is that he's going to take your blog and make your blog have 100K followers or subscribers. If he says, I'm going to bring healing to your family, don't assume that it is your biological family. It could be your extended, though biological family. It could be maybe your family of faith. It could be anything. So don't over-exact or over-exaggerate what God has told you. As he said, it's okay, thank you, Lord. What do you mean? Go further and ask him, okay, what is it supposed to mean? Is this something I should just keep faithing and praying about, or is there something I can do about it? Sorry about this. Okay. So I'm sorry about that. Put my phone on silent so there will be no interruption. Okay, do you understand? So don't go over exacting on what God has said and building your own castles without him actually doing that. All you need to do is, okay, this is what the Lord has said, and your prayer would be, Lord, position me, help me to submit in alignment so that this thing you said can be my reality in the long run. That's one. Then the second thing you want to do is that when you're setting goals for the year, set smart goals. We've talked about smart goals in the previous video. Okay, set smart goals. Like I said in one of the videos, your goals should leave enough room for flexibility. Okay, your goals should leave enough room for flexibility. It shouldn't just, have you caged in, roped in, and you can't go anywhere. It should leave enough room for flexibility. So you set smart goals and you set it on a broad spectrum. So let's say you want to set your goals in the area of relationships. Okay, one thing you want to do in relationship is that you want to have healthier relationships, right? Now, having a healthy relationship is it's not exactly clear what you mean by healthier. Okay, is it that person you don't want to encourage people who are of a certain kind of character, or what? Okay, so more or less, it's more like you set your goal. You want to have a healthier relationship with friends or with family or with whatever as the holistic year's goal. So you know that by the end of the year, you are able to measure that you had a healthier relationship. But when you say that I'm going to have 17 more friends, now that looks like a more specific goal, but at the end of the year, you may not have 17 friends. Or you say, I'm going to have a conclave of close-knit friends, or comprising 4 people. At the end of the year, you may not have that because you can't force anybody to be your friend and you can't relate to everybody. Okay, and there are times and seasons, they change. You might have the 4 of them by October. By November, 2 or 3 of them would have to move to another season of their life that does not include you. Okay, so you can't say you have 4 close-knit friends. You can't do that, but you can say you'd have a healthier relationship with people. Okay, and then you specify what you mean by healthy. No toxicity. Okay, you are not toxic and they are not toxic. You help each other, you deliver value, and you check up on each other, you love. So you see how you set the goal so that it's not just smart enough, but it's realistic at the end of the year. It's realistic at the end of the year. Okay, so that's also another way of ensuring. And then the last one I would say is deal with it. Deal with it. You definitely have to change course time and again. You definitely have to change course, and so you just have to deal with it. And that is why after setting the year's goal, it's always important to break it further down. Set in 90 days, that's 3 months. It's more short term. And when you set in 3 months, you go further and set in, set monthly if you can. But I would encourage, if you are new in the whole goal setting business, don't overexert yourself. Don't give yourself a lot of work. Don't give yourself a lot of things that you can't keep up with. Okay, so if I think one of the best ways to start if you are still new is just start monthly. Okay, start monthly, and this is my reason. Number one, it's more short term, it's shorter than 3 months. 3 months you might forget, but monthly you will not easily forget. Start monthly. 3 months is ideal because it's not too long, but it's not too short, so it gives you enough room. But because you are new, you might forget that you even set goals. You might just run off track. So begin monthly. Okay, it helps you to begin that habit. It helps you to kickstart the habit formation. And when you form the habit, you can now go into setting every 3 months, weekly, even daily, whatever suits you. So this is where we'll wrap it up. It's been exciting sharing. It's been really exciting sharing. And I hope you also learned one or two things that you could put into your own discoveries and experiences and get more done. Proactivity is always going to be the way forward. Life is designed to throw a lot of trash at you, the ones you like, the ones you don't like. Okay, if you keep reacting to everything that comes to you, you will waver, you will falter, you would be like a wave. You don't have direction. You're just going, flowing the tide, wherever it goes. And like they said, a rolling stone gathers no moss. But proactivity is you insisting that this is who you are, this is your stand, and whatever life gives to you, you choose what to do with it. Life doesn't call the shots for you, you call the shots for life and for your living. Thank you so much for being part of this meeting. It's been a pleasure. I'm Mr. Zoe Okolo once again, and I'll see you some other time.